Hello guys, and welcome back or welcome here if you are new. My name is Amy. So in today's video, I'm talking all about my 2022 reading / bookish goals. I'm finally getting around to it and I'm so excited. So before we get started, I just want to kind of give a little overview. Now this is probably the first time I have set reading goals for myself like ever. Just because reading is definitely a hobby of mine. It's something I like to do for fun. And I've always been afraid that if I go ahead and try to set goals, that I'll be so concerned on reaching these goals, just reading, that I won't be able to stop and enjoy the hobby itself. But you guys have so inspired me, watching all of these videos here in the new year about setting your reading goals and seeing you guys have achieved them and you found more books that you loved, you've learned more life lessons. I mean, there's so many good things that I can see coming from setting a goal with reading. Plus, because it is a hobby, it's something that you enjoy, so you get to do more of what you enjoy, essentially. So that is why I decided that I was going to go ahead and for the first time ever do a reading / bookish goal list. Now, this list is going to look a lot different than probably most of you, and it just has to do with the phase of life I'm in. I have so many goals that I have to meet already with work, and then also with full-time school, and so I want to make sure that I just keep them light and fun. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right on in. So I did go ahead and put 5 things on my list. All has to do with reading or bookish things. The very first goal that I have for myself this year is to read more of the books that I have on my shelf. You guys, last year I spent quite a bit of money on trying to build up my bookshelf. I'm stocking up on my shelves, and so I really want to focus on reading some books I have on there. I really do have a lot of good books on those shelves. There's just so many books that I want to explore along with new releases. But I have to kind of reel it in and just say, okay, let me choose some books that I'm going to set for myself to say, Amy, you are going to read these this year off of my shelf. So I have selected those books. Let me show you what they are. Now, it's very likely that I will read more from my bookshelves, at least I hope I do, but I just wanted to set just another goal within a goal just to make sure that I at least read some. So that's how I came up with my top 5. So I just went through all the books that I haven't read and I said, okay, these really stick out to me and I'm going to do it this year. So book number 1 is My Stubborn Heart by Becky Wade. I have heard nothing but great things about this book. So I originally bought this book last year off of Thrift Books. It was a really good price and I had every intention of reading it last year, but we all know how that goes. Sometimes we have the best intentions, but where's the follow through? I'm going to make sure I follow through this year. So this is book number 1 on this list. Like I said, I've heard nothing but great things about it, and that really does make me excited to read this book. Number 2 is Love and a Little White Lie by Tammy L. Gray. Again, I have heard nothing but great things about this book and also this author. I've watched several of my YouTube friends on here who have read this book and have read this author, and they have absolutely enjoyed it. And so again, that excites me to read it. Also, I just love this cover, you guys. The colors, I just love it. It's gorgeous. And so this is another book that I'm putting on the list that I have to read this year. All right, book 3 on that list is Dancing with Fireflies. This is actually book 2 of the Chapel Springs romance series from Denise Hunter. So there's a couple reasons why I chose this book. Number 1, this series does have 4 different books because it's a quite large family. And so it follows each of the children. Over the course of last year, I was able to find the whole set. I am really excited about that. Book 1 was Barefoot Summer. So I did enjoy that book. Is it one of my favorites? I wouldn't say that it is, but I did enjoy it enough to where I want to keep going in the series. Now, I have read reviews on this book, and many people are saying that this is one of their favorite Denise Hunter books. Now, again, we all have different opinions and we all read things differently and enjoy things differently. I try to take reviews with a grain of salt unless I know the person and I know the books that they usually like to read. So with that being said, that did kind of give me the little extra push I needed to go ahead and put this as a book that I must read this year. Book number 4 on that list is The Librarian of Boone's Hollow. So the reason why I selected this book is, number one, it's another book that's a little bit out of my comfort zone. I've mentioned this before, I don't usually read a lot of historical fiction. However, after reading Redeeming Love, I do see the appeal in reading historic books. And so this is one that I chose. There is another YouTuber, Lindsay, and she raved about this book last year. And she really talked it up, and it sounded so good. And so when I was out one day at a local secondhand bookshop, I found it. I decided to get it. The only thing about this book that kind of turns me off, and you know, because I haven't read it, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but something to the fact where she is so close to finishing school, but then she has to move. The sound of that it makes me anxious, just because I'm in school myself. And I believe that she was almost done. And so something like that is kind of hard for me to read. If any of you who are watching this have read this book, how painful is that to read about? I mean, is it not really a big deal? Does it all work together? I just gotta know, because I'm really nervous about that, you guys. Because finishing school is something that I really want to do. And it just pains me to think that someone gets so far and then they can't finish. That's tough for me. That's tough for me. And so please let me know. Give me some encouragement towards this book if you can. So I did put this on the list. I'm really nervous about this one, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. And book number 5 on this short list for books I must read on my shelf is by Terry Blackstock, and that is If I Run. So this is a trilogy that came out several years ago. I do know this is book 1. I have seen, again, many videos, people who have read the whole series and they love it. Christian suspense is something that I have kind of, I'm not going to say shied away from, it's just I haven't read as much as I used to in the past. And so I kind of want to get back into reading those just to kind of change it up from my typical contemporary romance. So I definitely want to read this. Her writing is just so easy to read, and I love how it just always flows. And so I cannot wait to read this. I have a feeling that once I read this book, I'm going to want to read the whole trilogy. So yes, all of that is included in my first goal, reading books on my shelf. On to the next goal, number 2, and that is to read at least 5 new authors. I wanted to set that goal for myself just because I can get stuck on some of the same ones over and over, just because I do enjoy their books so much. Now, 5 I think is a reasonable number, and I already have 2 from my bookshelf that goes towards that goal. So I have Tammy L. Gray from Love and a Little White Lie, and then Kim Vogel Sawyer from The Librarian of Boone's Hollow. So that right there is already 2 out of the 5. All right, goal number 3, read at least 2 new releases. So the reason why I gave myself that goal is because I want to stay current on some of these authors. A lot of books that I have right now, they're backdated, and so I want to make sure. Now some of them are new, just from like last year, so not a big deal. Some of them are several years, and I want to make sure that I am staying current on some of these new release Christian fiction books. Goal number 4, and this is to read at least 2 books that I have seen on YouTube as part of the 2021 favorites. So I already have a couple of books in mind. So one of those books that I want to read is Stealing the Preacher. I don't know who the author is, but Celestia had talked about it on her 2021 favorites. And the reason why I chose that one is because that is one that I've heard her talk about before. This is a little bit embarrassing. I don't know why, but for some reason, I just really love to read romances that involve a pastor. I don't know why. I guess because we kind of put them up on pedestals. I don't know. But for some reason, I enjoy those stories. And this one just sounded so funny. And it's also historical. And so I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's just one of them, and then I have to pick another one. There's so many good choices out there. Melanie Dickerson is another author that I kept hearing over and over in these favorites videos. And so I'm going to go back and look at some of those books and see which one that I possibly want to read from her. So I thought that was just like a fun goal to have. And then lastly, my final goal, goal number 5, is to start book journaling. That is something else that you guys have inspired me to do. I love to draw, I love to color, I love to journal, and I love books. So you really didn't have to twist my arm that much. The only concern I had was, will I have the time to do this? And because my goals are a little bit smaller, I definitely think I will have time. And this is something that I will have 100% creative control over. So right now, I do have the opportunity to be creative in my art classes in college. But the difference is there's certain materials I have to use, there's certain rules and guidelines I have to follow for these projects. You know, most of the time it's not 100% of what I would want to do. This way I do have a little side project where it's 100% totally in my control. And so that I think is going to be a lot of fun. I don't know exactly how I'm going to set it up yet. It's going to be a little bit different, but I'm excited to just explore and figure all of that out. And if that's something that you guys would be interested in seeing, let me know because I would love to share it. Alright guys, so that's it. Those are my reading goals slash bookish goals for 2022. Now along the way I may pick up new goals, or I may have new ideas or new things I want to add to this list, and that's okay because again, this is something that I am 100% in control of. It's a lot of fun. It's not something that I have to turn in, you know, that has to be graded, but it's just all in good fun. So thank you guys for letting me share this with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that I've maybe given you some inspiration as well. All right, well, until next time, take care, guys. Bye.